Hey, how's it going? It's Keith Townsend from the CTO Advisor. We're joining you from beautiful Las Vegas, AWS reInvent. Peter, this has been a heck of a show so far. 50,000 people. You guys have a booth, Datos.io,
yeah.
and I stopped by briefly. I thought I was going to be able to say hi. Actually, I saw you, and I'm sure you didn't see me. I thought I was going to be able to stop by and say hi, but you guys were super engaged with folks coming by. Talk about first your role at Datos.io, and then the vibe of the conference.
Cool. So yeah, Pete Smales, Vice President of Marketing Business Development for Datos.io. We're a cloud data management company, and to your point about this is a great venue for us. About 50% of our customers run in the cloud. But yeah, I feel like I've been here since Sunday, so it's been a couple days, but I feel like I've been here all week because it's just been the numbers are so big. There's just people everywhere. It's been a steady flow of traffic. The buzz is good. I didn't use this earlier today, but it's like I feel like I'm back at Comdex. You know what I mean? I know that may not be a good thing because it's like Comdex. I have good, but just from a magnitude and sort of like the buzz and energy. I mean, there's a ton happening. It's great.
So I've been doing the Cube interviews, and I've seen people flow back and forth. Matter of fact, I had you on the Cube earlier today.
That was great. Enjoyed it.
So this is a little bit different approach. I talked to the CTO and enterprise architect layer folks. We had you guys on the podcast a month or so. Did really great feedback from it. A lot of ton of downloads, a lot of energy around that podcast.
Yeah, thanks for that. It was great.
It was fun. But since then, you guys have come out with a new version, and then on top of that, you gave me some insight last week that I didn't realize. One, you guys are not a cloud-only solution.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about the mix of the customer mix, and what's new with the product?
Sure. So I'll take a small step back because I kind of jumped past that before. So we are a cloud data management company. Specifically, what that means to us is we're really attacking two primary use cases. One is backup recovery, okay, and the second is data mobility.
Right.
And so the genesis of our company and why we're doing this is because the world's moving to cloud. We're all on board with what
you guys are unapologetically cloud.
Absolutely. We're steadfast in our view that the world's moving to cloud, and the second piece is that the world is largely moving away from sort of the traditional relational data, on-prem monolithic database centered view of the world. So our focus is very much around cloud data management, specifically for non-relational databases and data sources and big data file systems. So our bent, a lot of people, oh, you're backup and recovery.
Right.
Absolutely, we're backup and recovery, unabashedly, but because backup's not a new problem, but it is for these new modern applications built on these new modern database platforms running, into your point, in hybrid or multi-cloud environments.
So I think we need to tease that out because I don't think we've ever teased that out on video, what it means to be a non-relational database.
Cool, okay.
And, you know, if you're a traditional infrastructure person, you're thinking, you know what, backup is backup, data is data.
Right.
What does it matter if it's relational, non-relational? Can you break that down for us a little bit? What's the difference between the fundamental difference and challenges from backing up a relational database versus a non-relational database?
Sure. There are a couple foundational things, the difference between a relational and non-relational database, right? Traditional relational databases they're monolithic. You put everything in one big stack.
Right.
They were what they're considered always consistent. So at any given time, you could basically say, database, tell me what you look like right now.
You know, DR was very prescriptive. If I wanted to recover my data set from 215, I turned the knob on my VMAX array to 215, and I could recover the whole Oracle database at 215.
Right, exactly, because inherent to the database was if you wrote a piece of data, it didn't acknowledge that the data was written until it was written. So everything was always consistent. So, but new non-relational databases, they basically give up consistency for performance.
Okay.
So they're designed by definition to be far more scalable, be far more performant, to be more agile, more flexible, because you're essentially going from this monolithic database view of the world to more of a microservices based view of the world. You
so I can basically scale out the database.
Correct. That creates that combination of consistency, performance requirements, performance at scale, and sort of this notion of eventual consistency creates underlying challenges for backup because you can't do simple things like, hey, database, tell me what you look like right now, give me a picture of that, and then I'll make a copy of that, I'll put it somewhere, and I'm all set.
So underneath is file systems. I can just back up those file systems, do some type of time sync, and eventually get consistency myself. What does Dados? I'm guessing this. Yeah. Dados.io. How do you guys kind of make that simple, or where's the fallacy in that concept?
The fallacy is in the cost, is in the complexity, and the risk associated with doing that. I mean, in a sense, could you come up with a way? Like there are customers out there today. Ideally, some of them listen to this, listen to the dose, and basically it's like, are you running any Cassandra or Mongo databases? Yes, we are. Are you running them in production? Yes, we are. What are you doing for backup and recovery? Oh, we just run scripts.
Right.
Or we just do, we just basically take snapshots of all our nodes.
And then I manually stitch that together when it's time, if I need a recovery.
And what will happen typically in those scenarios, one is that's a very complex process. It's a very expensive process. And then on a recovery standpoint, you may have to go through a very manual and time-intensive recovery process, repair process, excuse me, to essentially rebuild that consistency. Contrast that with what we're doing, which is completely fully automated, fully orchestrated, any point in time backup and recovery. Always consistent, any point in time recovery. So essentially, it's point in time. It's completely automated. It's simple point and click, and it's incredibly storage efficient as well. Because, as we've talked about in previous sessions, traditional deduplication, which everyone who knows backup and recovery is familiar with deduplication. That's a block level construct.
Yes.
That does not work with compressed data, with encrypted data, with object storage,
right.
with eventually consistent, or excuse me, with clustered data sets. It just doesn't work. It wasn't architected for that. So we invented something called semantic deduplication.
Okay.
Which is specifically designed to deal with compressed data, encrypted data, highly distributed clustered data.
So in highly distributed databases, I can have same data somewhere else. If I'm backing it up with a traditional solution, I'm going to deduping that becomes a bigger challenge.
Check.
You guys naturally do that.
Great example. Oh, I can double click on that very briefly, which is, non-relational databases are clustered, right? But the data that's replicated across those clusters isn't identical from a block standpoint. So just simple example.
Just
so
simple
wait, but I've got 3 nodes
same
of
data,
the same data,
but not block consistent.
It's not block consistent, and it's potentially encrypted or compressed. It just kind of throws traditional dedupe out the window, because we integrate at the database level, and we call it semantic deduplication on purpose. We understand the underlying schema of the databases that you're storing your data in, so we can do key value deduplication.
So this gets us back to the mix of customers, part of my original question. There's on-premises opportunities, and there's off-prem. There's stuff that's in the cloud.
Yep.
I can easily conceptualize this in running in the cloud, Cassandra database, etc. What if I have those things on-prem?
Yep.
How many of your customers are taking advantage of that technology on-prem, and what does that look like from a packaging perspective?
It looks identical. I mean, not literally identical, but essentially it's the layer that we care about is the data source. So, because we integrated the data source at the database level, we're actually agnostic to the infrastructure. We don't look at LUNs, we don't look at VMs, we don't look at containers. We literally integrate directly at the database level. So, as I mentioned earlier, about 50% of our customers run in the cloud, across multiple different cloud platforms. The other 50% are running these modern, as we call modern applications built on these non-relational databases. They're running on-prem. And so we'll run on bare metal, we'll run in a VM, just as easily as we'll run in an EC2 instance. So it's actually transparent to us. The typical scenario for an on-prem environment is they'll either run it off bare metal, they'll spin up a VM, and then the storage they'll typically use is either NFS, because we'll support any NFS, or object storage. So depending upon what they want to do, they can just use off-the-shelf NAS,
right,
or they can use object storage, and then in that same scenario, if they're in the cloud, say AWS, will be spun up as an EC2 instance, as an AMI. They'll be running their clusters, and then they'll use S3 for storage.
So let's close out these doses. I really enjoy having folks like Dados.io sponsor these events. It really helps the community learn more about the show and what's going on in the industry. Let's close out on the show.
Cool.
What are you guys most excited about this AWS? There's $18 billion.
I love that metric.
$18 billion with a 40% CAGR, year-over-year growth. That's insane. You look at kind of other vendors out, talk about HPE. HPE is shrinking. They are a $30 billion market cap company now. If AWS was a separate company, they'd be what easily a $150 billion company. The scale is amazing. Almost 50,000 people at this show. Where is the? I think the question people like to ask: where's the white space? When you look at something as massive as AWS entering a market, I'm sure they'll enter data protection at some point. Where's the value that you, as you guys talk to customers, that just can't be replaced? You guys talked about the 4-year head start.
Yeah.
Where's the key value of data?
The white space for us is backup and recovery and data mobility for non-relational database applications.
And the mobility is a big part. AWS isn't going to come into the market and say, hey, let me help you move your data to Azure.
Right. No, exactly. And they're also, we're not a migration service.
No, not a migration service.
So it's like, AWS has all that down.
We're not going to help you spin up a copy of your data in another cloud provider to run test dev off of.
But what excites us most about AWS, one, is they're a great partner.
Right.
One. Number two is we're very strategically aligned because they recognize the value of what we're doing. They recognize the space that we're playing. They've got the RDS side, covered. This whole non-relational, in AWS's DNA, they're a non-relational company. Right. So they see the proliferation of data. I mean, the number two database in the cloud on AWS is MongoDB. Number 3 database is Cassandra. So it's all about non-relational. So the white space and the value that we offer to customers is enterprise backup and recovery for these modern applications running on these modern databases. The value in white space that we're covering for AWS is we're delivering that enterprise backup and recovery capability for those customers, those enterprise customers that want to be hosting these apps on AWS.
You're bringing nice partner value to your partner and your customers.
That's what excites us most, is we've got a very strong synergy with AWS in this, and the other piece of the puzzle is if you ask the AWS folks, what's really exciting is that backup and recovery is a core requirement because it's such a core tenet of what enterprises do.
Exactly.
They get it, they're interested, that's what we do. Nice synergy.
So Peter, I really appreciate you joining the CTO Advisor Dose at AWS reInvent. Where can people find out more about Datos and Datos.io? And if people want to stalk you online, how can they find you?
Yeah, so if you're at the show, if you check this out at the show, we're in booth 2825 in the main hall. It's been jumping, so come find us. Or check us out at www.datos.io. Great place to start. We'll get in touch with you. Look forward to chatting with lots of folks out there. And as always, thanks for having me on. Look forward to being back again.
All right. That's it for this CTO Dose at AWS reInvent. You can find me on the web at CTO Advisor Twitter, thectoadvisor.com. Talk to you next CTO Dose.